What if Jedi were evil and Sith good? Let's explore the depths of this scenario in the video. Dooku approaches Anakin one night and takes him for a walk in the gardens. The boy had just started training to be a Jedi, and his first few weeks were even more exciting due to the arrival of the Kalee and the Huks delegations to negotiate a peace deal. As they walked, Dooku began to ask Anakin how well he was settling into the Jedi Order, and if it was everything he wanted.
Do you miss Qui-Gon Jin?
Of course. He was so brave and strong. He was like a hero out of a legend.
More than you know, boy. He was a true Jedi.
That was a compliment Dooku could not give for the rest of the Order. After centuries of peace, the Jedi have grown decadent and corrupt. Instead of being peacekeepers, they have become a military caste, one determined to maintain their power and influence by keeping the galaxy at war. He's heard rumors of some Jedi even dabbling in the dark side of the Force. This boy is excited to become a Jedi, but admits his disappointment that the Jedi will not help him free his mother.
It is wrong, my boy. That is an injustice, one the Jedi should correct.
But why aren't they?
Because the Jedi are restricted by rules, some of the galaxy and many of their own making. They fear instability and would rather let others suffer the consequences of their inaction.
And do you agree with them?
I believe in what the Jedi want, but I disagree with their methods. That is why I came to you, my boy. Tell me, do you want to see your mother?
Suddenly, searchlights bathe the gardens as Obi-Wan and Mace Windu appear, accompanied by a group of temple guards.
Dooku, I suspected you would try to subvert our authority. Haven't you learned that the Council's word is law? Words are wind, Master Windu. Action is all that matters.
Mace suddenly unleashes a barrage of Force lightning on Dooku, forcing the Count to block his attack. The Jedi knows better than to get in close with a master duelist like Dooku. Instead, he allows the temple guards to surround him. Anakin screams at them to stop, but one temple guard pulls him back. He's about to take the boy away, but a shape appears from above and throws the guard off the balcony. A Kaleesh warrior appears, pulling a pair of swords out and rushing to Dooku's side. He slams into the temple guards, knocking them aside and begins cutting them apart. Mace rushes at Dooku before he can escape. The two cross blades, but Dooku expertly pivots and slams his hilt into Mace, sending him stumbling aside. The Count grabs Anakin and leaps over the edge of the balcony, where Dooku's ship is waiting.
Hurry, Kai-Mane!
The Kaleesh, Kai-Mane, dispatches the last of the guards and crosses his swords as Obi-Wan rushes at him. He pushes his swords and shoves him back. The warlord leaps onto the ship after them, but a second lightning blast from Mace cuts him short. Kai-Mane screams as his body begins to sizzle and burn, tumbling off the edge. Dooku pulls him up with the Force and carries him off before he hits the ground. With that, the ship flies off back to Kalee, where Kai-Mane receives medical treatment. Dooku walks Anakin across the planet. There he sees a once lush and verdant world, reduced into a wasteland due to a decade-long war with the neighboring Huks.
The Kaleesh were invaded by the Huks and have been fighting to drive them off their world for many years now. But the Republic followed the Jedi's suggestion and sided with the Huks.
Why would they do that?
Because they found the war turning against them. The Huks pleaded for help from the Senate and the Jedi. They spun tales of barbarity and cruelty at the hands of the Kaleesh. Perhaps the Jedi believed them, or were swayed by the generous donations by the Huks. It does not matter. The ending is the same. The Kaleesh suffered for daring to defend their homes.
This is far from the only injustice in the galaxy, and Dooku spends the night discussing more, painting the images of suffering throughout the galaxy while the Jedi sit back and do nothing. The reason is that most Jedi have grown complacent, preferring to prize their ancient rules over understanding the problems now. This isn't anything new to Anakin, who grew up in slavery. He knows the cruelty firsthand. But that is where Dooku offers him change. He left the Jedi Order for this reason, wanting to change the galaxy, whatever it takes. He offers the same to Anakin, who glances over at Qui-Gon and the world around him before agreeing. Training begins immediately, as Dooku and other Kaleesh warriors train Anakin to become a fighter. One of the first lessons they teach him is that to win a fight means doing whatever necessary, giving whatever they have. That means harnessing his emotions, whether good or bad, with each strike. Anakin easily picks up this lesson, letting his anger out with each blow instead of bottling it up. That doesn't mean he masters it overnight, as the Kaleesh are natural warriors and drill him relentlessly, making him practice with different weapons and fighting styles to ensure he can meet any challenge. Even Qui-Gon joins in after recovering from his injuries and becoming the cyborg known as Grievous. He aids in training Anakin in the ways of a warrior, but over the years, Dooku does more than teach Anakin to use a lightsaber. He also teaches Anakin how to channel those emotions in the Force. Over time, they hear more disturbing news. Palpatine reports that the Jedi are now petitioning the Republic to train their army to deal with a new crisis. These new soldiers will be led by the Jedi, which will only ensure their control. The Jedi's hold on the Senate will be absolute with an army. For Dooku and Palpatine, there is only one course of action: a war. Anakin is less certain. If what you're saying is true, then this could mean a galactic-scale conflict. Billions dead.
I do not like it either, Anakin. But it may be an opportunity to weaken the Jedi's hold on power. They are peacekeepers, but give them a war, and they will become soldiers. Give them an army, and they will become generals. Soldiers and generals often make poor peacekeepers.
But they allow for unprecedented suffering.
Suffering the people will see. To defeat the Jedi, we must turn the people against them. That means they must see how the Jedi have lost their way.
I welcome this challenge. If the Jedi think of themselves as fighters, let them face real warriors.
His Kaleesh fighters cheer and pledge their support to Palpatine and Dooku. But they know this will not be enough. Even if they recruit other groups, the Republic far outnumbers them. This is where Dooku reveals his plan to create an army of droids to reduce organic casualties. But while that army is being built, Anakin and Grievous must begin their operations. With the Huk War officially over, the Republic demands that the Kaleesh disband their military. Grievous supplies, but he and the other warriors enroll in a mercenary company that is technically under the employment of Count Dooku. Anakin becomes the Captain General, though he keeps his identity hidden by donning the armor and mask that Grievous used to wear before his accident. While the Jedi are debating and arguing about creating an army in Coruscant, this company heads out to the Outer Rim to deal with the crime lords and gangs who run rampant across the region. They begin raiding slavers' dens, pirate strongholds, and more. At their head are Anakin and Grievous, who prove to be unparalleled warriors. Wherever they fight, it seems like crime melts away as countless fall before their blades. But after they clear out an area, Dooku and Palpatine move in. They use their wealth and connections to rebuild the area, providing necessities that are long neglected, such as food, medicine, and electricity. As their success grows, more groups join this burgeoning mercenary company known as the Warriors Legion. Martial people like Mandalorians, Cage, Niktos, Weequays, and other warriors flock to Anakin's banner. The company soon makes a name for itself by defeating gangs and criminals across the galaxy. Soon entire worlds hire them to deal with threats, providing an alternative to relying on the corrupt Republic. This also gets the attention of the Jedi, who see their success in dealing with the underworld and sees it as a threat to their power. If there is peace, there is less need for groups like them. They begin pressuring the Republic to outlaw mercenary companies, saying that it might encourage conflict as these groups have no loyalty to anyone. They are partially correct, as the warriors' sons do threaten their position as their money all goes to funding Count Dooku and Palpatine's anti-Republic efforts. Despite Palpatine's attempts to challenge the Jedi, the Senate votes for this proposal and orders the warriors' sons to disband. When they refuse, the warrior's sons declares war on the Republic and the Jedi, deeming them no longer capable of protecting the galaxy. The Jedi do not think much of this, as with their new clone army, they do not expect much trouble. However, more groups begin to join the warrior's sons. Entire worlds benefited from their protection along with the core of the CIS. With this army, the Confederacy grows larger and more powerful. War spreads across every corner of the galaxy. At the head of this is Anakin and Grievous, who lead their forces across countless battlefields. But as the conflict rages on, cracks form in the Jedi Order. Although each member is a capable warrior, the sheer number of battlefields spreads the Order thin. Not helping is their inexperience in command, as most Jedi aren't used to commanding ungainly armies too. Most people end up preferring the CIS, with Anakin and the warrior's sons as the poster boys of the organization. Rather than being seen as secessionists, many view them as freedom fighters, bringing peace to the galaxy. Lastly, Palpatine secretly feeds the CIS classified information from troop movements to political developments across different worlds. This allows the CIS to strike at vulnerable places that weaken the Republic's hold on different sectors. With these developments, losses mount in the Jedi Order at a far higher rate than they were expecting. This worries Yoda, who sees his grip over the Republic weakening.
Troubling these developments are. Consider we must the possibility that we may lose this war.
The CIS seems to be one step ahead of us.
Only through a traitor could they learn this information.
Or traitors. Unfortunately, we have no shortage of enemies. I wouldn't even know where to start. With our order, I sense the faith of some of ours weakening.
Draw out these traitors. You too must.
They track down possible traitors in the Republic and begin hunting them down, using whatever it takes to get information out of these suspects, including kidnapping, blackmail, threats, and even torture. A few even end up dead from these interrogations. This doesn't go unnoticed by the public, who see Jedi arresting senators, soldiers, and even regular citizens who they suspect of treason, and begin to wonder whether they are simply peacekeepers or occupiers. Protests begin to grow on Coruscant to end the war. Although they are mostly peaceful, Yoda begins worrying that they might spread across the core worlds, and recommends Palpatine declare martial law. The Chancellor is horrified at this suggestion, and outright refuses to support it, unless there is a credible threat to the Republic. Furious, Yoda calls for Obi-Wan and Mace to get him results. By now, the two are certain there are some Jedi in the Order whose faith is faltering, but they have a way to flush them out. Although they continue operating as normal, the two intentionally relax security in some parts of the temple, providing an opportunity for the traitors to strike. That blow comes a few weeks later, when the Jedi Temple is bombed. This explosion rips through the hangar, killing several workers, clones, and Jedi. Yoda orders an investigation into the incident, putting Obi-Wan in charge, who reveals the explosion was caused by the wife of one of the workers who was working with the Jedi, Barriss Offee. The explosion represents a major blow to the Jedi security, and soon more sympathizers attempt similar attacks. By then, Mace and Obi-Wan tighten security and catch all the culprits. Now with multiple attempted attacks on the Jedi, Yoda demands that the Chancellor enact martial law in Coruscant. Palpatine has no choice but to do what they want, allowing stricter security measures to be put in place. But while he agrees to this demand, the Chancellor secretly sends this information to Dooku and Anakin.
I suspect the Jedi have launched a false flag operation in their temple to demand martial law. They are now arresting more citizens. It is only a matter of time before they discover my position. We must act while the Jedi are vulnerable.
I understand, my master. We will redeploy our forces now.
With their recent success in the Clone Wars, Dooku and Anakin contemplate an attack on the core worlds. But this information decides things, as they know the people will be in an uproar. However, they don't realize that Mace and Obi-Wan have resumed their investigation and have interrogated several of Palpatine's inner circle, including Mas Amedda. They now have a strong suspicion that he is the Sith Lord. Because of that, they wiretap his transmitter so they can hear all his conversations. They hear everything in this transmission and take action. Mace leads a strike force to confront the Chancellor. 4 of the Jedi's best fighters confront Palpatine.
We know you are the Sith Lord, Palpatine. Make this easy on yourself and surrender.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Master Windu, but I find these accusations slanderous. Now please leave my office. I have real work to do.
You know that won't happen.
I had hoped it would not come to this.
The Sith Lord lets out a piercing shriek and tips his desk over. All 4 masters thrust their hands out and unleash a bolt of lightning across the room. This shatters the desk to pieces, but Palpatine leaps through the smoke. While in midair, his lightsaber flashes, and Ajen Kalar and CC-Teen are cut down with barely a fight. Snarling defiantly, Palpatine lunges at Kit Fisto, forcing him to the corner, but Mace comes from behind and gives the battered Jedi some reprieve. Palpatine faces him as the 2 Jedi attack. The 2 try to surround and overwhelm him, pressing him with powerful lightsaber attacks. As Palpatine stands ready, he begins to smile.
There's a reason that I was the agent for the Sith in the Republic. Jedi scum.
He suddenly unleashes a powerful force push that sends the 2 flying back. As Kit Fisto gets up, Palpatine is on him, throwing another series of powerful attacks that finally defeat the Jedi Master. With that gap in their defenses, Palpatine makes a run for it, sprinting down the hall as he calls for an evac. Cursing to himself, Mace chases after him, with the 2 having a running battle across the halls. But as Palpatine reaches the outside, a blue lightsaber flashes and nearly takes his head, forcing him to duck under the attack. Obi-Wan appears with his lightsaber.
You've created quite a mess, Chancellor.
They look up to see the skies of Coruscant turned into a battlefield as an armada of CIS ships emerges from hyperspace. Most of those ships are already breaking through and landing troops. One of those ships is a small shuttle that manages to break through the atmosphere and land on the Senate landing pad. 2 figures rush out of the ship and ignite their lightsabers. General Grievous and Count Dooku.
Dooku, Grievous, you are fools to return here.
On the contrary, I see I have arrived just at the right time to watch your order fall. The last time I came here, I left defeated. But now I shall avenge that loss.
We shall see.
Grievous lunges forward, his forearms whirling with deadly precision. Obi-Wan intercepts those swings in a flurry of sparks. Beside him, Mace Windu meets Dooku's attacks as they lock in a battle of wills. Grievous' strikes came fast and relentless, but Obi-Wan parries each one with a masterful precision. Gone is the inexperienced youth who faced him years ago. Now, there is a seasoned warrior more than a match for him. Grievous's mechanical agility gives him the upper hand, but Obi-Wan matches his attacks with skill and precision. Mace and Dooku circle each other, their sabers locked in a deadly dance. Dooku watches the Jedi's moves carefully, using everything he knows about his fighting style to block each attack.
Have the Jedi truly become so predictable? Let's see how well you fare against predictability.
With a powerful force push, Mace sends Dooku stumbling backward. Taking advantage of the moment, he pressed his attack, driving Dooku closer to the edge of the landing pad. Obi-Wan ducks and spins across the endless stream of attacks until he senses an opportunity. Feigning high, but then sweeping low, the Jedi severs Grievous's lower arms. Roaring but retreating, Obi-Wan smirks and advances on him. Retreating slightly, but before Obi-Wan can press his advantage, Grievous unleashes a flurry of attacks with his remaining arms, forcing Obi-Wan back on the defense. Mace, on the other hand, is on the verge of victory. With a series of swift strikes, he sends Dooku's lightsaber flying from his hand.
You underestimate me, Windu.
With a sudden surge of the Force, Palpatine smiles and sends a crate flying at Mace and sending him sprawling on the ground.
Enough, Windu. Your reign of terror ends here.
Obi-Wan sees this and redoubles his efforts against Grievous. However, the 3 CIS leaders surround him. This is too much for Obi-Wan, allowing Grievous to sweep his legs and slam his face into the ground. Palpatine approaches Obi-Wan, looking down at the defeated Jedi.
Take them. They will be useful.
Grievous and Dooku nod, taking the unconscious forms of Mace and Obi-Wan in tow. Palpatine joins them as they begin to fly off. The two remain down there to command the ground battle, but as the shuttle leaves, Dooku contacts Anakin.
We have the Chancellor. Escort him to safety.
In another part of the city, Anakin is leading the warrior sons and their droid allies in a brutal street fight, but they seem to be gaining the upper hand. The mercenaries fight like nothing the clones have ever faced. Kalee leaps from wall to wall, firing blasters down at the enemy, while Mandalorians zip through the air. Cage darts around with vibro daggers, and Nictus, Weequays, and humans face the clones head-to-head. Anakin is at the front of the line, keeping the clones back when he gets the message. He leaves the mercenary company in charge of the battle, as he leaps into his shuttle and darts through the air, chasing after Palpatine's ship. He gets into formation with them, weaving towards the massive space battle. All around them, ships, fighters, and soldiers are fighting and dying. Anakin tightens up alongside the fighter and makes sure that all stays far away from them. Soon the massive invisible hand looms large, bristling with weapons and starfighters. It will be the safest place for the Jedi. Once boarded, Anakin begins securing the prisoners, taking them to the detention level.
You're making a mistake. Yoda is coming. He knows everything. He will not let Palpatine escape. You must see reason.
Anakin says nothing, but their warnings echo in his mind. Before he can warn the Chancellor, alarms blare through the ship. A sinister presence emanates across the ship. Although small, Yoda's dark presence looms large. As he lands in the hangar, he cuts through the ship's defenses with ease. Droids and mercenaries all fall before his weapon. He then quickly disappears, hiding in the vents to run through to avoid the defenses. Anakin feels the presence and hurries to the Chancellor's quarters to protect him. But as he approaches the hall, Yoda drops in front of him with his lightsaber ready.
Foolish you were to challenge the Jedi.
Yoda, this ends now. You won't take him. I'm here to bring balance to the Force.
Only with the Jedi can there be balance. With our laws and our rules can the galaxy thrive.
Anakin roars and rushes towards him, shockwaves flashing across the corridor as he puts all his strength behind the blow. Despite that, Yoda's centuries of experience are clear, and he stops the attack in his tracks. And then, with blinding speed, he shoves the blade aside and leaps into the air. Yoda's small frame leaves him barely a blur. Anakin spins his attack, swinging his lightsaber in wide arcs to try and get the Jedi, but Yoda counters with swift parries. Even with all his strength, Anakin can't pin Yoda down, who leaps from wall to wall or slides between his limbs and attacks. Yoda leaps into the air, flipping over Anakin's head and landing behind him. Anakin barely had time to turn before Yoda's lightsaber was flashing towards him. He blocks the attack, but Yoda's next strike comes too fast. The green blade cuts through Anakin's defenses, leaving a burning gash on his arm. Roaring in pain and anger, Anakin's attacks grow more desperate. Yoda effortlessly evades and leaps at him, starting to throw punches at him before Yoda leaps back. Feeling his injuries start to weigh him down, Anakin's attacks become wilder and more desperate. A smirk tugs on Yoda's lips as he slams him against the wall while his head is spinning. Yoda advances and raises his lightsaber for the killing blow. Then, the door opens and Palpatine emerges, his eyes blazing with righteous fury as he throws a wave of Force energy. Yoda tries to absorb the attack as it lights up the corridor. Anakin seizes the moment to charge at Yoda, who now has to divide his attention. He leaps back and thrusts his lightsaber back at Anakin as the duel continues, when Palpatine joins the fight. The Sith Lord smiles as he presses Yoda back, allowing Anakin to recover and come to his side. The old Jedi tries to leap away, but Anakin is relentless, and Palpatine catches his leg and pulls him to the ground. While Palpatine holds him back, Anakin drives his lightsaber into the Grand Master's stomach. As their victory sinks in, Palpatine orders the Republic forces to stand down, allowing the CIS to claim victory. The Jedi are forced to surrender and disband, with many masters being arrested, including Mace and Obi-Wan. Meanwhile, a peace treaty is signed between the CIS and the Republic, allowing them to rejoin the Republic. The warriors' sons now form the core of the New Republic army under the command of General Grievous, while Dooku takes the role of political leader. Lastly, the younger Jedi are to be reformed under the masterful tutelage of Anakin Skywalker. Under the watchful eye of these heroes, the Republic is allowed to thrive. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.